The grand auction hall on the planet Kilthoria bustled with anticipation, its towering crystalline architecture shimmering under the light of 3 suns. It was a spectacle designed to dazzle, a place where the wealthy and powerful gathered to acquire rare and exotic beings from across the galaxy. Today, however, the hall held a peculiar tension, a mix of curiosity and unease that rippled through the crowd. Among the assembled elites was a man who stood out not just for his presence but for his purpose. Clad in simple, durable armor, his dark eyes scanned the room with quiet intensity. This was Dorian Kale, a seasoned warrior of Earth, known for his unyielding sense of justice and unwavering commitment to his cause. His mission today was unlike any he had undertaken before. He was here to purchase an alien slave. The auctioneer's voice boomed across the hall, introducing the next lot with dramatic flair. A hush fell over the crowd as the curtains parted to reveal a figure draped in delicate, translucent silks that shimmered with every movement. She was of a race unfamiliar to many, her skin a soft hue of iridescent blue, her hair cascading in silver waves that framed her ethereal features. Her eyes, deep and expressive, held a mixture of defiance and sorrow. "This," the auctioneer declared, "is Liana of the Alarith, a rare and exquisite specimen from a dying world. Her kind is known for their unparalleled beauty and grace, and she is the last of her line." As the bidding began, Dorian's gaze never left Liana. He saw beyond her beauty, perceiving the strength in her stance, the resilience in her eyes. He knew her spirit had not been broken by captivity, and that was what he admired most. The numbers climbed rapidly, each bid a testament to the value placed on her perceived worth. Yet Dorian remained composed, calculating. When the bidding reached its climax, he raised his hand, his voice firm and decisive as he placed the final bid that silenced the room. Moments later, as the transaction concluded, Dorian approached the stage. The crowd watched with bated breath, expecting to see the usual exchange of property. But Dorian had a different plan. "Liana," he said gently, his voice carrying a warmth that contrasted sharply with the cold transactions of the day. "I did not buy you to own you. I bought you to set you free." Liana's eyes widened in surprise, a flicker of hope igniting within them. Dorian extended his hand toward her. "Will you trust me? I seek not a slave but a partner." The hall erupted in murmurs and gasps. Such an act was unheard of, a human warrior proposing partnership to a slave. Yet Dorian's resolve was unshaken. He knew the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to change her life, and perhaps, together, they would change the galaxy. Liana stared at Dorian's outstretched hand, her mind racing. 4 years, she had been shuttled from one master to another, each more indifferent or cruel than the last. She had learned to suppress hope, to survive by yielding only as much as necessary while guarding her innermost self. But this man, this human warrior, spoke of freedom and partnership. Could she dare to believe in his words? Slowly, hesitantly, Liana reached out and placed her hand in Dorian's. His grip was firm yet gentle, a silent promise of protection and respect. The auctioneer, momentarily stunned, quickly recovered, declaring the transaction complete. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder, filled with speculation and disbelief. Dorian led Liana off the stage, through the sea of curious onlookers, and out into the bright light of the Kilthorian day. They moved swiftly to his ship, an unassuming but sturdy vessel designed more for function than form. Once inside, the doors closed behind them, sealing them away from the prying eyes of the auction hall. The ship's interior was Spartan but clean, a reflection of Dorian's practical nature. He guided Liana to a seat in the common area, then knelt before her, looking up into her eyes with sincerity. "Liana," he began, his tone earnest, "I know this must be overwhelming. I can't imagine what you've been through, but I want you to know that from this moment on, your life is your own. You're free to make your own choices." She studied him, searching for any hint of deception, but found none. His words, his demeanor, all conveyed a rare authenticity. Still, years of experience had taught her caution. "What do you want from me, Dorian Kale?" she asked, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. "I want nothing from you," he replied. "Only to offer you a chance at a new life. You can stay with me until you decide what you want to do next. If you choose to leave, I'll help you get to wherever you want to go. If you choose to stay, We'll figure out what that means together. Liana's lips pressed into a thin line, her thoughts a torrent of possibilities and fears. And if I choose to stay, what would you expect of me? Dorian smiled gently, a warmth in his eyes that eased some of her tension. Only what you're willing to give. We can learn from each other, grow together. You have strengths I've only glimpsed, and I believe there's so much more to you than what those slavers saw. If you stay, it will be as my equal. The concept was almost foreign to Liana, a life without chains, without orders, without a constant fight for survival. Yet here was a man offering her not just freedom but companionship on equal terms. It was a risk, but one she was beginning to feel might be worth taking. Very well, she said finally, her voice soft but resolute. I will stay for now. Dorian's smile widened, his relief palpable. Thank you, Liana. Together, we'll chart a new course. As the ship lifted off, leaving Kilthoria behind, Liana felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it was hers to choose. The hum of the ship's engines became a soothing backdrop as Dorian guided them away from Kilthoria's orbit and into the vastness of space. Liana sat quietly, her mind still processing the rapid turn of events. The idea of freedom was thrilling but also daunting, like stepping into a new world without a map. Dorian, sensing her unease, gave her space, focusing on navigating the ship until they were well clear of any potential pursuers or curious onlookers. Once they were safely adrift in the quiet expanse, he turned to her, his expression thoughtful. You must be hungry. Let me get you something to eat. Liana nodded, realizing she hadn't eaten since the morning, and even then, it was only a meager portion given by the auction handlers. As Dorian moved to the small galley, she took the opportunity to observe him more closely. His movements were efficient, purposeful, yet there was a gentleness to his demeanor that contrasted sharply with the hardened warriors she had encountered before. He returned moments later with a plate of simple but nourishing food. It's not much, but it's fresh, he said, setting it before her. We'll restock with better supplies at the next station. Thank you, Liana murmured, taking a tentative bite. The food was plain but satisfying, and she found herself eating more than she expected. As she ate, Dorian sat across from her, his eyes filled with quiet curiosity. Liana, he began after a while, would you tell me about your home? About Alarith. The question caught her off guard. No one had ever shown interest in her past, in the world she came from. Her expression softened as memories of her home, long buried, resurfaced. Alarith was beautiful, she said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. It was a world of vast oceans, where the skies shimmered in hues of violet and gold. Our people lived in harmony with nature, drawing strength from the sea and the stars. Her gaze grew distant as she continued, the memories both a comfort and a sorrow. But our world was fragile, its ecosystem delicate. When outsiders came, seeking resources, they disrupted the balance. Our world could not withstand the exploitation. Many of us were taken, scattered across the galaxy as our home withered away. Dorian listened intently, his heart heavy with empathy for her loss. I'm sorry for what happened to your world, Liana. No one should have to endure that. She gave a small nod, appreciating his compassion. It's in the past now, but it shapes who I am. Dorian leaned forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. And who you are, Liana, is someone of great strength and resilience. I see it in you, and I want to help you find your place in this vast galaxy, wherever that may be. For a moment, silence enveloped them, filled with an unspoken understanding. Liana felt a warmth she hadn't known in years, a sense of being seen not as a possession but as a person with value. I would like that, she admitted softly. To find a place where I belong again. Dorian smiled, a promise in his eyes. Then that's what we'll do. Together. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with potential dangers and unforeseen challenges. Yet, in that moment, within the sanctuary of the ship, a foundation was laid, one of trust, respect, and the possibility of a future shaped by their choices, not their pasts. The next few days aboard the ship were a gradual unfolding of trust and understanding. Liana began to explore the vessel, acquainting herself with its various sections, from the modest sleeping quarters to the small but efficient engine room. Dorian gave her the freedom to roam, answering her questions and encouraging her curiosity. He admired her keen intelligence and the way she adapted to her new environment with quiet resilience. One evening, as the ship drifted through a particularly serene sector of space, Dorian found Liana standing at the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The light of distant constellations reflected in her eyes, giving her an almost otherworldly appearance. "They remind me of home," she said softly as he approached. "The stars were our guides, our protectors." Dorian stood beside her, his gaze following hers. "They're beautiful, aren't they? A reminder of how vast the universe is and how small our troubles seem in comparison." Liana nodded, a gentle smile playing on her lips. "And yet, amidst that vastness, we find connections that give us purpose." Dorian turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "Is that what you feel now? A sense of purpose?" She met his gaze, her smile fading into a look of quiet contemplation. "Perhaps. I'm still discovering what that purpose might be, but being here, with you, it feels like the beginning of something meaningful." Her words stirred something deep within Dorian, a feeling of responsibility but also a growing affection. He had set out to rescue her from a life of servitude, but he hadn't anticipated the bond that would form between them. "You're not alone in this journey, Liana," he said gently. "Whatever lies ahead, we'll face it together." The moment was interrupted by the ship's alert system, signaling an incoming message. Dorian moved to the control panel, his demeanor shifting to one of focus. Liana followed, curious and slightly wary of what might be unfolding. The message was a transmission from a nearby space station, offering supplies and repairs. Dorian accepted, setting a course for the station. As the ship altered its trajectory, Liana's curiosity grew. "Will it be safe?" she asked, aware of the dangers that often lurked in such places. Dorian nodded, reassuring. "I have contacts there, trusted friends. We'll be cautious, but it's a good opportunity to replenish and gather information." Liana agreed, though a part of her remained on edge. The galaxy was unpredictable, and even the most secure places could harbor hidden threats. Still, she trusted Dorian's judgment, knowing he had her best interests at heart. As they approached the station, the structure came into view, a massive, sprawling hub of activity, with ships of various sizes docking and departing. The station glowed with the neon lights of countless businesses, a bustling microcosm of galactic life. Once docked, Dorian turned to Liana. "Stay close to me. This place is safe, but it's always wise to stay alert." She nodded, her expression serious. "I understand." They disembarked, blending into the crowd of travelers and merchants. The station was alive with the sounds of commerce and conversation, the air filled with the scent of various alien cuisines. Dorian led Liana through the maze of corridors, stopping occasionally to greet familiar faces. Their first stop was a supply depot, where Dorian negotiated for food, fuel, and basic necessities. Liana observed, impressed by his straightforward yet fair approach. The respect he commanded was evident, and she could see why he was trusted by those he dealt with. After securing their supplies, Dorian guided Liana to a quieter section of the station, where they could sit and plan their next steps. As they settled into a corner booth of a small eatery, Liana felt a mix of anticipation and unease. "What's on your mind?" Dorian asked, noticing her pensive look. "I'm wondering what's next," she admitted. "We've left Kilthoria behind, but what lies ahead for us?" Dorian considered her question carefully. "There's a place I've heard about, a sanctuary for those seeking refuge from their pasts. It's called Haven. We could go there, find out if it's real, and see if it might be a place for you to start anew." Liana's eyes widened slightly. "Haven? A sanctuary?" He nodded. "It's a long journey, but I believe it could be worth it." A spark of hope flickered within her. "Then let's go. I want to see this haven for myself." Dorian smiled, her determination reigniting his own resolve. "Then that's where we'll go." Their path was set, the stars their guide once more, as they embarked on a journey toward a promise of peace and a place to belong. As Dorian and Liana left the station behind, the ship hummed softly, carrying them toward the unknown reaches of the galaxy where Haven was said to exist. The journey was long, filled with stretches of silence punctuated by moments of conversation and discovery. Liana found herself growing more comfortable in Dorian's presence. His steady demeanor, combined with his respect for her autonomy, allowed her to lower the defenses she had kept up for so long. She began to share more of her past, recounting stories of her people, their traditions, and the beauty of Alarith before its downfall. In return, Dorian opened up about his life on Earth, his time as a warrior, and the battles he had fought, not just against enemies but against the injustices he had witnessed. His dedication to justice had shaped him, driving him to places like Kilthoria, where he sought to make a difference in the lives of those who had been wronged. One evening, as they navigated through a dense nebula, the ship's lights dimmed to a warm glow, casting soft shadows across the interior. Liana stood at the observation deck, watching the swirling colors outside, her thoughts far away. Dorian joined her, his presence a comforting anchor. "What are you thinking about?" he asked gently. She sighed, her voice wistful. "I'm thinking about what it means to start over, to build a life from nothing. It's both terrifying and exhilarating." He nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "It's not easy, but you're not starting from nothing. You have your strength, your wisdom, and now your freedom. Those are powerful foundations." Liana turned to him, her eyes searching his. "And you? What do you seek in this journey?" Dorian met her gaze, his expression thoughtful. "I seek redemption, in a way. I've seen too much suffering, caused too much destruction in the name of duty. Helping you find a new beginning helps me find one, too." The sincerity in his voice touched her deeply. In that moment, the connection between them felt stronger, a bond forged in shared pain and mutual purpose. As the days turned into weeks, their journey brought them closer to the rumored location of Haven. They encountered other travelers, some who spoke of the sanctuary as a myth, others who claimed to have glimpsed it but never found it. The uncertainty only fueled their determination to uncover the truth. One day, as they neared a cluster of uncharted planets, the ship sensors picked up a faint signal, a beacon emitting a rhythmic pulse, guiding them toward a distant point in space. Dorian's eyes lit up with a mixture of hope and caution. "This could be it," he said, adjusting the ship's course. Liana's heart raced. "Haven." "Possibly," Dorian replied. "But we need to be prepared for anything. It could be a trap, or it could be the sanctuary we've been searching for." They approached the source of the signal cautiously, the ship gliding through the void with practiced ease. As they drew closer, a planet came into view, its surface shimmering with a mix of green and blue hues, reminiscent of a world untouched by the ravages of war and exploitation. Liana's breath caught in her throat. "It's beautiful." Dorian nodded, his gaze fixed on the planet. "Let's find out if it truly is Haven." They descended through the atmosphere, the ship's sensors scanning for signs of life and habitation. What they found was a network of small, thriving communities, each nestled within the lush landscapes of the planet. The beacon led them to a central settlement, where a landing platform awaited. As they stepped out of the ship, they were met by a group of beings from various species, their expressions a mix of curiosity and welcome. An elder, with a serene presence and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages, stepped forward. "Welcome," the elder said, their voice warm and inviting. "You found Haven, a place for those seeking peace and new beginnings." Liana and Dorian exchanged a glance, the weight of their journey lifting slightly as they realized they had reached the sanctuary they had long sought. "Haven," Liana whispered, her voice filled with awe. "We made it." The elder smiled. "Come, let us show you the way of Haven." As they followed the elder into the heart of the settlement, Liana felt a sense of hope blossom within her. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in years, she felt that she had found a place where she could truly belong. The path into Haven's central settlement was lined with trees bearing luminescent fruit, their glow casting a serene light over the scene. Liana marveled at the tranquility of the place, feeling a peace she hadn't known since the fall of Alarith. Dorian walked beside her, equally struck by the harmony that seemed to permeate the air. The elder led them to a large communal building made of natural materials, seamlessly blending into the landscape. Inside, the space was open and welcoming, filled with people of various species engaged in quiet conversation or tending to tasks. There was a palpable sense of community, of lives intertwined in mutual respect and care. "Please sit." The elder gestured to a circle of cushions arranged around a low table. As they settled, others joined them, their faces reflecting kindness and curiosity. "You have traveled far to find us," the elder began, their eyes resting on Liana. "What brings you to Haven?" Liana hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. But Dorian, sensing her uncertainty, spoke up, his voice steady. "We seek refuge and a fresh start. Liana comes from a world that was lost, and we've both endured much in our pasts. We hope to find peace here." The elder nodded, their gaze softening. "Haven is a sanctuary for those who seek a new beginning, a place where all can heal and grow. You are welcome to stay as long as you need." Liana felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the elder's words a balm to her weary soul. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. The elder smiled gently. "There are no debts here, only contributions to the community. As you settle in, you'll find ways to share your skills and strengths. In turn, the community will support you." Over the next few days, Liana and Dorian were introduced to the various aspects of life in Haven. They helped in the gardens, learned from the artisans, and shared stories with the other residents. Liana found joy in the simple tasks, each day bringing a sense of purpose and belonging. One evening, as the sun set in a brilliant display of color, Liana and Dorian sat by a tranquil lake that reflected the sky above. The water's surface was still, mirroring the calm they both felt within. "This place," Liana said, her voice soft with wonder, "it's more than I could have ever hoped for." Dorian smiled, his hand reaching out to gently clasp hers. "You deserve this peace, Liana. After everything you've been through, you've found a place where you can truly live." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "And you? Have you found what you're looking for?" He nodded, his expression thoughtful. "In helping you find Haven, I've found a purpose beyond the battles and the pain. I've found a reason to hope again." Their bond, forged through adversity, had deepened into something more profound, a partnership that transcended their individual struggles and became a source of strength for both. The future, once uncertain and filled with fear, now seemed bright with endless possibilities. As the stars emerged in the sky, Liana and Dorian sat in silence, the moment a quiet affirmation of their journey and the new life they were building together. Life in Haven settled into a rhythm, one that brought both comfort and quiet transformation for Liana and Dorian. Each day was filled with meaningful work, from tending the community gardens to helping construct new dwellings for the ever-growing population of refugees. Liana found herself drawn to the healing arts, learning from the community's healers about the plants and remedies unique to the planet. Dorian, meanwhile, used his skills as a warrior not for combat but to teach self-defense and strategies for peacekeeping. His classes became popular among the younger residents, who looked up to him with admiration and respect. One afternoon, as Liana and Dorian walked back from the fields, they noticed a commotion near the central square. A group of newcomers had arrived, their faces weary and marked by recent hardships. Among them was a young woman clutching a child, her eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. Liana's heart went out to them immediately. She approached the woman, her voice gentle. "Welcome to Haven. You're safe here." The woman's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded, her grip on the child tightening. Dorian stepped forward, his presence reassuring. "Let's get you settled. There's food and shelter for you all." As the newcomers were led to the communal building, Liana and Dorian stayed behind, watching the scene unfold. The arrival of new refugees was a reminder of the world beyond Haven's borders, a world still fraught with danger and suffering. That evening, as they sat by the lake, Liana voiced her thoughts. "Haven is a sanctuary, but so many out there still suffer. I can't help but wonder if there's more we can do." Dorian nodded, understanding her concern. "We found peace here, but the galaxy is vast, and the need for places like Haven is great. Perhaps we can help in other ways, by reaching out, by offering support to those who can't come here." Liana's gaze was thoughtful. "You mean creating a network? A way to help others find safety?" "Exactly," Dorian said. "We could work with other sanctuaries, create safe routes, and offer aid to those in need." The idea resonated with Liana. It's a way to extend Haven's peace beyond its borders, to help others find what we've found. Their resolve solidified. They approached the elder the next day with their proposal. The elder listened intently, their expression one of quiet approval. Your idea has great merit. Haven's mission has always been to offer refuge, but expanding our reach would allow us to touch more lives. You have our support. With the elder's blessing, Liana and Dorian began organizing their efforts, reaching out to contacts Dorian had made in his travels and gathering information about other sanctuaries and safe havens scattered across the galaxy. Their work brought a new purpose to their lives, one that intertwined with the spirit of Haven. As the network grew, so did the impact of their efforts. Stories began to spread of a path to safety, of places where the downtrodden and lost could find solace and support. Liana and Dorian, once two souls searching for peace, became the architects of hope for countless others. Their journey had brought them to Haven, but their mission carried them beyond, transforming them into beacons of light in a galaxy that often seemed shrouded in darkness. Together, they forged a legacy of compassion and courage, one that would echo through the stars for generations to come. As the network expanded, Liana and Dorian found themselves frequently communicating with distant outposts and sanctuaries, coordinating efforts to transport refugees, deliver supplies, and offer guidance. Each new connection strengthened the web of safety and hope they were weaving across the galaxy. One day, while reviewing a report from a newly established sanctuary on a remote moon, Dorian noticed a troubling pattern. Several outposts had recently reported increased activity from mercenary groups known for targeting vulnerable populations. Their raids were becoming more coordinated, and the sanctuaries were at risk. Liana, reading over his shoulder, felt a chill run down her spine. They're trying to dismantle what we've built, she said, her voice tense. Dorian nodded grimly. We need to act quickly. If we don't, the sanctuaries could fall, and countless lives would be lost. They called a meeting with the elder and other key members of Haven. The room was filled with a sense of urgency as they discussed the threat and brainstormed solutions. We cannot meet violence with violence, the elder said, their tone firm yet compassionate. But we can strengthen our defenses and increase our efforts to protect those in need. Liana spoke up, her mind racing with ideas. We can create hidden routes, safe passages that are known only to us. And we can use technology to monitor movements, giving sanctuaries time to evacuate if necessary. Dorian added, we can also establish alliances with local communities who are sympathetic to our cause. They can provide shelter and aid discreetly, helping to spread the risk. The plan was met with approval, and everyone present pledged to work together to implement these strategies. Liana and Dorian took on the task of overseeing the creation of the hidden routes, using their knowledge of the galaxy's lesser-known paths and anomalies. As they worked tirelessly, their bond deepened further. They had become not just partners in life, but also in a mission that transcended their personal struggles. The galaxy's fight became their own, and they drew strength from each other to face the challenges ahead. Weeks turned into months as the network grew more resilient. The sanctuaries became interconnected hubs of resistance and hope, each one fortified by the collective effort of those who believed in their cause. The mercenary raids became less effective as the sanctuaries adapted and became harder to find. One evening, as Liana and Dorian returned from a visit to a newly secured outpost, they sat under the stars, reflecting on their journey. We've come so far, Liana said, her voice filled with quiet pride. What we've built, it's saving lives. Dorian took her hand, his gaze steady. And it's because of you, Liana. Your strength, your compassion. It's the heart of this mission. She looked at him, her eyes filled with emotion. And you, Dorian, you've given me the courage to believe in something greater than myself. Their journey, once marked by individual pain and loss, had transformed into a shared purpose that gave their lives new meaning. In the vastness of the galaxy, they had found their place, not just as individuals seeking refuge, but as leaders guiding others toward hope and safety. As the night sky stretched above them, dotted with countless stars, Liana and Dorian knew that their mission was far from over. But together, they would continue to fight for the sanctuaries, for the people who needed them, and for the promise of a better future. In the years that followed, Liana and Dorian's network of sanctuaries flourished, becoming a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Refugees found safety, communities thrived, and the oppressive forces that once loomed large began to wane. Liana's healing skills grew renowned, and Dorian's wisdom guided countless leaders. Together, they became legends, their love and dedication a beacon for all. Haven, once a solitary refuge, evolved into a constellation of peace. In the heart of it all, Liana and Dorian stood hand in hand, watching as the seeds they had planted blossomed into a legacy of compassion and strength. The galaxy was brighter, a testament to what two determined souls could achieve. And as they gazed into the stars, they knew their journey, filled with love and purpose, had truly changed the universe. Their hearts full, they embraced the future, knowing they had found their true home in each other and in the vast, beautiful expanse of the cosmos.